What's going on, everybody? I'm gonna give you guys time to kind of come into the conversation. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World and the Black Business School. And as we're all about Black people. We're all about Black wealth, all about Black intelligence and everything else. And we're all about the grind and all about finding a way to make a way and to get ahead and to become strong. And today I wanted to talk about something that I see a lot of people doing. I see a lot of people getting into the house flipping business. I know a lot of single moms that are actually in the house flipping business, like people like Dr. Venetia Dutra, who teaches in the Black Business School. She's raising $1 million right now to actually go flip houses and stuff like that. So that led me to kind of wonder, and to really explore the experience that many of us are going through as we're trying to get into this real estate game. As you guys know, real estate is one of the three pillars of wealth that allows you to actually build wealth, build capital, get out of debt, get ahead in this world. But it doesn't come without risks, challenges, and pitfalls and information that you have to have. So to kind of help this conversation, I brought in an old friend, somebody I've known for a long time. She's not old, but she's an old friend. Her name is Lisa Burns. And Lisa is, she's a mom. She's a smart Black woman. She's involved in real estate. She's also the CEO of MLB Real Estate Incorporated. So she's not just a mom and a Black woman, but she's also a boss. And so I want to welcome Miss Lisa Burns to the Intellectual Chocolate Podcast. How you doing today, Lisa?
Thank you for having me. I'm doing great.
Good. Well, I'm glad you're here. And so, I guess I want to get started by kind of letting people get to know you and your experience, so we kind of know where this is coming from. You and I've had conversations about, what you're doing in real estate and flipping houses and everything else. I'd like to start, I guess, a little bit from the beginning. What made you even interested in real estate in the first place?
I have always had an interest in real estate. My mother used to own the building that we lived in, and it was paid for. And as a little kid, I just thought that was so dope to live rent free. And that was like the ultimate goal for me. When I was like 23 or 24 years old, I ended up buying a house. So while my friends was going to college and going into all type of debt with college, I was paying a mortgage. So when they was done and paying student loans, I felt like I had a type of loan that I could get rid of. They couldn't get rid of their loans. I can get rid of mine, which I just sold that. I was in that house for 13 years and I just sold it in August of this year. And I made a small profit off of it. I could have made a bigger profit. I bought it right before the crash in 2008. And so that's the only thing that's scary about buying houses. You don't know how the market is going to be. And I end up refi, which I don't recommend refiing loans unless it absolutely makes sense. I refied and didn't do anything to the house. I refied that loan back then to keep the house. So what I did was I took money out just to turn around and pay the mortgage. That's a dumb idea, but a lot of people do it. When people was losing their houses, I kept mine. And that's how I did it. So I got this extra $50,000 that I was just pinching off of just to stay ahead and keep my house. Cause I had a pride thing. I was young buying a house and everybody was like, oh, be careful. And a lot of people lose their houses and they're losing their houses now. So I made a snap decision to do that, which I regret doing because I could have had such a big profit off of selling my house, with all the equity that I thought I had. I only made like maybe $20,000 when I sold it.
But that's still pretty huge as far as a lesson. Now remind me again. Now, what led you to get? I mean, most 22-year-olds don't go buy a house, don't own a house at 20. You said 22, right? Where you own your first house?
I was 22 looking. I ended up buying it like maybe 23 or 24 years old.
Okay, what drove that again? Let's talk about that a little further. What drove you to have a house at 22, 23, when most 22, 23-year-olds really don't even think that's even a possibility? How did you get to that point?
I was homeless. I was kicked out.
That'll make you want to get a place to live.
Yeah.
Now that don't make you buy a house though. Like there's a difference, right? Most people that are homeless will be like, I need an apartment. Right? Yeah. Like, what were you even considering the apartment option, or were you like?
I did. Tell me. I did. Okay, so growing up in the 80s, our parents, and especially I have older parents, and they don't know much about credit. And with Black kids, we wasn't really taught, how to build credit and get credit cards and whatnot. So I had bad credit, and so my backstory is I moved out the house at 18, got my first little apartment right after 2 weeks after I graduated high school. And I was doing fine or whatever. Then me and my little boyfriend I was so in love with bought a house. Well, he bought the house and my money financed it. And we got into it 6 months later and he kicked me out. So I got revenge. I had to stand with my brother and end up not working out, things not working out with my brother and his family there. I was pretty much, I had nowhere to stay, but I didn't tell anybody. And so I had to get a co-signer for an apartment, which I hated that apartment. And I hated the fact that I had to have my other brother co-sign for it. And because I was, homeless and I didn't have nowhere to go, I made the decision in my head that I'm never going to get kicked out again. People, you can rent from somebody and you can pay them whatever you're going to pay them. And they can still decide that they want to kick you out or they want to do something else with their house. Cause I did it, with tenants that I had. And I decided I don't want that ever in life again. And at that time I had a baby too. So I had to do what I had to do to take care of my child. And I wanted more stability because as a kid, I was moving from place to place to place. So I stayed in an apartment that my brother co-signed for, and I got my credit report up or my credit scores up. And then I just end up buying a house, and I had the house for all the way up until August of this year. I bought it, I think in 2004, maybe 2005 or something like that. Maybe 2005, but it's 13 years. Yeah. So that was my thinking on that.
Wow, that's a hell of a story. I want everybody to know who I'm talking to. I'm talking to Ms. Lisa Burns. Lisa is the CEO of MLB Real Estate Incorporated, and we're talking about this idea of home ownership, real estate, house flipping, stuff like that. A lot of single moms are getting into this, and I think that it's something that where you want to hear these stories so you kind of know what's going on. And so, so by the way, if you like what you're hearing, if you like this video, make sure you show your love, hit the thumbs up button, like button, share button. Also, if you want to see if you want to see Lisa and see the conversation by looking at our faces, you can actually go to drboycetv.com. That's drboycetv.com. Just make sure you subscribe because this is big, strong Black media, and we are reaching 1 million Black people a month now. I don't know if you guys know, I don't know if you noticed, Lisa, but last month was the first month that we had people watched 20 million minutes of video on our network last month.
Oh, I did see that. I saw that on YouTube.
That's cool, right? That's really cool. Yeah, we're really excited, because we built this ourselves. Like this is built by Black people, with the support of the people that are a part of this. We didn't go ask a white man to write a check. We didn't go to no bank, no corporation. We didn't go to the government. We just did it, and we own this. Like we created this, so I'm really proud. And we get to tell stories like this. Like a story like this isn't one that people are going to get to hear because they don't get to hear Black stories from Black people about Black people that need to be heard by Black people. You get all this stupid stuff on TV, and I think these are the real stories. This is the real stuff, and you're the real people like you are the real heroes in the community because you raise your son. Everybody in here, that has a mama, which I assume everyone does. You know how important your mama is and how courageous and how heroic and how extraordinary many of our mothers are. They don't even know they're being extraordinary. They just do what they got to do. And next thing you know, they got this superhero story. So I'm gonna back up. So you're basically telling me that you were a mom and you had your son who's a teenager now.
He's 17 now.
17 now, right? And by the way, the people in here, I think some of these guys are trying to flirt. They act like you don't look old enough to have a teenage son. I think that's so. I agree. She doesn't, but y'all.
Thank you.
I need y'all to focus now. But so the necessity of having the son. I mean, I understand this. I remember having a daughter at the age of 18 really got my attention, got me focused real quick. Like having a child early it'll either throw you off, like if you don't confront it and you're not strong enough, so it can mess you up, or it'll make you super focused, where you literally raise your game to the next level because you have to survive. And I remember when my daughter was born, and I was 18, and it was my freshman year of college, and she was born like at a really convenient time. Like she literally came out of her mother's womb during Christmas break. so I could finish my finals and come home and see the baby. I had to take the bus home and all of that, and I didn't have a car, so I had to go, and there wasn't no Uber, no nothing like, and I couldn't afford like taxis.
Right.
So I literally, I remember those 3 days of sleeping next to her mother's bed, while she's in labor for like 72 hours, like, or how long. It seemed like forever. It was a long time. And it was just something about that experience that I was so grateful for, because it upped my game. I had a level of focus that my friends did not have. But one thing I can say though, where you have something that I did not have, I wasn't even thinking about home ownership. I wasn't even thinking about that. It's amazing, right? Considering that's what I talk about and that's what I preach about pretty much. At that time, because of the background and the way I've been raised, I'd never been taught to think that I could own a house at 22, 23 years old. So you bought a house at 22, 23. It's almost like, it sounds like your situation kind of pushed you, to make those moves. It sounds like you also went through what a lot of people would describe as maybe a type of financial abuse, where you had a situation with a man. You both were buying a house, but it sounds like everything was in his name.
It was. What happened after I had the baby, I wasn't working. So I was supposed to, stay at home and raise the baby for a little bit. And then I think, he kind of took advantage of that and just knew that I needed him and just played the game. So, I mean, my thinking on buying a house is because, I did have a kid and I wanted more stability for him, but I also bought the house for revenge. I literally bought the house around the corner. It was bigger and it was better. And then it was also cheaper than what he paid for his. So I couldn't be on his house, thank God. I couldn't be on his house because I didn't have a job or income. But, I did help him, give him, some of the money before I was unemployed to get it, get it to him or whatever. But it was fine. It ended up working out in my favor. We stayed around the corner from each other, I think, until maybe like a few years when he finally moved from around the block. But that's how you get revenge on people. I didn't do anything. I didn't damage his property. I didn't do anything like that. I just moved on way better. So it was kind of out of spite, but it was also because I really did because I was moved around a lot when I was a kid. My mom, after she sold her building, they was calling her gypsy and had me going. I never went to a school more than 2 years.
Wow.
Yeah. Maybe 3 years, because I ended up going to Proviso East for sophomore, junior, and senior year. So, and I was supposed to actually go to Austin Community High School because I had moved out the district, and I had to beg the principal to stay there because I was like, I do not want to be a new student again. So, it was rough.
It sounds like these experiences really shaped you. That this experience of going from one school to the next, it helped you make definitive decisions about how you wanted to live your life.
Yeah.
That experience with the man led you to say, okay, I'm not going to go through this again. So I'm real curious about that. Now, the man that you mentioned, was that the father of your child?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, that's interesting because, I've always believed, the best way to get that revenge is to go and become successful. Don't destroy, just go build something extraordinary and be happy. Right. And then at that point, in fact, what I have found is that when you go off and you focus on improving your life and being as happy as you can be, you've done such a good job at getting your revenge that you don't even care about getting revenge anymore. Like you literally are just like, well, I wish them well because I'm so happy now. I'm almost glad that you put me through that because now my life, look at how great my life is now. So let me ask you this. Okay, so you bought that first house and you said you sold it and made $20,000, which is pretty good, right? It's better than that you said.
It's better than nothing.
And it's better than a lot of college students who go to school and get a bunch of debt. And you see, like you was talking about, they can't get rid of the loans. A lot of them can't pay off the loans. They don't own any assets. So I think you actually did better than you might give yourself credit for. So let me ask you this. So how did that feed your desire to go deeper into real estate?
So while I still owned my house, I ended up buying a building on the west side of Chicago. So I bought a 2-flat. Okay. And I bought this 2-flat dirt cheap. It was like, I think it was like $28,000. And I put down like maybe $10,000 on it. And I put maybe $30,000 or $40,000 worth of work in it. And I rented it out for few years until I end up selling that June of last year. I sold that June of last year, which allowed me to move to where I'm at right now. I end up moving out of Chicago to another state because the profit was so great on that. So I ended up making $110,000 off that house, off that building, which, allowed me to come here. So, and the upgrades that I had, that I did to the house.
How much did you make off the building?
I made $110,000.
That's like some fine print. You don't just gloss over that. You don't just kind of like, oh yeah, I made $110,000 and just talk about it like it ain't not like what you had for lunch yesterday. That's a big deal. I mean, everybody in here, tell me if you are impressed with the fact that she made $110,000. How many people do you know who work every day, who've never invested at all, can ever say that they even know what it means to just have a windfall profit of $110,000? I mean, that's a big deal. Let me ask you more about that. So what do you think is kind of the difference in mindset that leads a person like yourself? Because you didn't grow up with a silver spoon in your mouth. You live in Chicago. You've seen, all that Chicago has to offer, good and bad. We'll talk about it. But yet you can say, I sold a building and made $110,000. What do you think is the difference? Most people can't say that, right? So what is the difference in mindset that even led you to even be able to be put in a position where that could happen?
Well, with that, it ended up kind of happening because I was having bad tenant after bad tenant, which that's a whole different story on you can't be your tenant's friends. And I messed up right there. I should have had like a management company, because I would have still had that building. It was on the west side. It was like in the hood, but it was happened to be on anybody that lives in Chicago know that there are your good blocks and there are your bad blocks. And I happened to be on like a pretty decent block, even though the next block over was a little rough, but it was a pretty decent block and I was making okay rent there. And my mortgage was nothing but like, the mortgage was like $100 and some, and the taxes and insurance was like another $300. So I was only paying $400 a month and I was renting out both units, which was, over almost $2,000. But the tenants,
you were paying $400 a month.
I was paying $400 a month.
I mean, every time you tend to gloss over your greatness. You'll say something that's really unique and original, and just kind of like, oh yeah, I just did it. I want to make sure everybody understands this, and I want you to process this, compare this to how other people make money, how we're trained to make money, right? We're trained to make money like you get up, you go to work 40 hours a week, you get a paycheck. And you pay a bunch of bills and go out and do stuff, and then you run out of money, and then you go back to work, right? Now, what you're saying, though, is that you had a situation where you owned a building in Chicago, you're still young, in your 30s, and maybe in your 20s. Well, how old were you when you bought the building?
I was actually in my 30s when I bought that building. I think I was like maybe 33 or 34.
Okay, 33, 34 years old. The mortgage and everything was about $400 and something, probably a little more just with some of the extras in there. And you were making $2,000 a month from people that were paying rent. And I think that's interesting, because one of the things that we talk about is that, people might feel that they can't make themselves into millionaires, but usually if you have a landlord long enough, you'll make your landlord into a millionaire. Like if you pay, $1,000, $1,500 a month in rent, and you do that for say 20 years, and if they invest that money, they literally will have over $1 million with that money. They put it, in the stock market or bought more real estate. So you had this building, and then you sold it, you made the money, and then you left Chicago with your son. What drove you to leave Chicago? It sounds like that was a good place to do business. What drove you to kind of go to a different place?
So I ended up leaving Chicago because of my son. Actually, he's like the number one reason why I ended up leaving. It's the violence there. He was going to a school in the city, so it was. When they had a shooting like right across the street from his school, it was just too much. And I wanted something way better for him. And I wanted him to see other things, in other states. So we visited where we're at now for like a week, so he could see what was around here and see the pretty girls. There are plenty of pretty girls here. And so he loved it. He was like a completely different kid because he was having like anger issues and retaliating against me, or I don't know, how teenagers. pretty much the same thing that I was doing to my mom, and I'm getting it back. It's payback. So I moved because of the violence. I also moved because Chicago taxes is just way too high. I was being constantly raped on taxes. You know, it's tax everywhere. So that was like a main thing as well. And then also, I don't like the cold anymore. So I'm in the desert now. And I love the fact that in December, January, I can go outside with a t-shirt on or a sundress and it's like 80 degrees outside. So I like that. Yeah, it's 115 and 100 in hell in the summertime, but I'll deal with that for 3 months if I get 9 months of great weather. So I'm okay with that. So those are like the top 3 reasons why I end up leaving.
Well, you know, it's Arizona, right? Is that?
Yeah, I'm in Arizona.
Yeah, my sister left Chicago to move to Arizona too. I got to introduce you to myself. I don't know why I never thought about that, but yeah, she moved for a lot of the same reasons. Lots of like the weather in Chicago is just real. You know, it can get real crappy, and if your mood's affected by the weather, I think that her mood was affected. She was like, I don't like. It just doesn't help your mood. So the sunshine does make you feel better. You're getting that vitamin D and just all this other stuff. Then the other thing is, Chicago is a city that's beautiful and wonderful and has so many great things, but it's also got a lot of death, a lot of things, right? And so, she worked in the coroner's office and would have to cut open these dead bodies all day long. And regular people, just like me and you, ain't nothing like. I think it led her to be reflective when she's literally cutting open somebody her same age, who full life was doing all these things and had no idea that a week later she'd be laying on a table next to a bunch of cadavers, right? And I think that also just kind of led her to say, I got to go. And not to mention all the Black people she saw, young kids, 16 years old, dead from all the gang violence and everything. And I imagine you as a mom, I assume that crossed your mind a lot, in terms of what's going on with the teenagers. How did you feel? So you said, did that play a big part in terms of your decision just to kind of pull your son kind of up out of that, or was that not really a factor? Or how did you feel about that?
Yeah, it was to the fact that he started getting numb to the fact that we're coming home and there is red tape everywhere. There is yellow tape. We know he's not supposed to know red tape means death. A lot of kids don't know that, but he knows that. So it was heartbreaking. Like when we came back from visiting Arizona, we was in Scottsdale and we came back from visiting, and as soon as we were riding down Cicero, there is like cop cars everywhere and yellow tape, and then off to the side there was red tape, and it was just so depressing. And also it was in April, so it was like kind of cold too. And it was like so depressing. And he like yelled at me. Anybody that knows me knows the type of relationship that I have with my son. So he was like, "You're a bad mom. How could you raise me here? How could you do that?" And so I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He was like, "We just came from a wonderful place, and then you're gonna raise me here? Like, why are we here?" He lives in Scottsdale. I don't understand you. I say, you know what? Well, guess what? We're gonna be moving soon. So I just quit. I worked at Northwestern Medicine, and I just quit. It was also some family stuff that was going on too. So it was just like perfect timing for me to just quit my job and then just come out here to do what I had to do. And we was gone by July 20th that same year.
Wow.
Yeah, it was like a snap. It was something that I wanted to do for a long time, but I didn't do because I didn't want to take my, kid away from his family here, everything that he knows. But if it was up to me, I would have left a long time ago. If it wasn't for him, I probably would have never bought a house in the first place, actually, because like I said, I wanted stability and I didn't want to have an apartment or anything. I probably would have, I don't know. I might have had me a fly little condo downtown or something if I didn't have him. But other than that, I wanted to get a house so he could, have somewhere, a childhood house, he can grow up in and have his own room and everything like that. Stuff I never had when I was younger. It was 5 of us. I had 4 older brothers, and then it was just me. And I didn't really have my own room. And by the time I got old enough to get my own room, I had to pay half for it. And I was still under 18. So that prepared me to move out the house too, because I was still able to pay at 15, 16 years old at my part-time job, half on rent. So I figured I could do the whole thing by myself. And apartments was cheaper then. It was only $500 for my one bedroom. One
Mm.
bedroom now like $1,000. So I don't know how these kids are doing it now.
Yeah, oh yeah, Chicago's not a game. I mean, yeah, the rent is expensive. Yeah, well, I think, I like that. I mean, I like the fact that you made those decisions for your son, because I think mothers know best. And I also think a lot of times, and this is for everybody out here, all the mothers and the fathers who are getting in trouble from their kids, kids don't understand. They just, you do stuff that's good for them, and they're going to fight you. But what happens is a lot of them will do what I did. I called my mother at the age of 30 and I just apologized. I
Yeah.
apologized and I thanked her. I said, I'm sorry that I fault you so much. And I thank you for not listening to me and pushing me to do what was best for myself. And that gives hope to everybody out here that's got a son or a daughter that's kind of giving them problems. And I want everybody to know who I'm talking to. I'm speaking to Miss Lisa Burns. She is the CEO of MLB Real Estate Incorporated. MLB Real Estate, almost like Major League Baseball, but it stands for Marvelous Lisa Burns. And she also has a Facebook page. So make sure you go to look up MLB Real Estate Incorporated on Facebook. And make sure you hit the page, hit the like button, stuff like that. Also, I want to remind everybody, if you want to learn about real estate, we do have some real estate experts to teach in the Black Business School. Dr. Venetia Dutra, another single mom who she has a PhD in finance. She flips houses for a living. She's actually doing a crowdfund. She's raising $1 million to go and buy some of these properties and do things with them. And so you can take her class and get a 30-day free trial actually in her real estate program by going to theblackrealestateprogram.com. That's theblackrealestateprogram.com. I highly recommend looking into real estate investing, or at least understanding it. Your kids should understand the 3 pillars of wealth: stock and bond investing, real estate investing, and entrepreneurship, because those are the 3 ways people tend to get wealthy in America. Doesn't guarantee it's going to happen, but if you don't learn these 3 things as a child or as an adult, then you're almost guaranteed to not be able to build wealth, right? You're going to go down that, get a job, go to school, get a job path, which unfortunately has led to a lot of student loan debt. People can't get out of that. And actually, I want to ask you about this. Somebody was asking this question, Lisa. They were asking about, things like credit scores and debt and stuff like that when you bought your property. Somebody asked, what was your approximate, whatever thing you want to share? Did you have what kind of credit did you have when you bought your first property?
Okay, this is interesting. So before the crash, this is probably why the market crashed, because of people like me. But I didn't lose my house like other people did. So when I first bought my house, I went what was called stated. I said I made about 50,000. I think it was like $50,000 at that time. Imagine, I was only like 23 years old. I was not making $50,000, but I went stated and said I was making $50,000. And you didn't really need a lot of paperwork when you go stated. And my credit score, because I drained my income and my finances or whatever, trying to get that house with my boyfriend at the time. My credit score suffered, and I had just bought a car too. So, but nothing was late. It's just that my credit score suffered because of the credit card debt that I was also in. So my credit report, I remember this being at like 500 at that time, and that's why I went stated, and I was still able to get the house. Can't really go stated right now because of that. So when people was going stated, they lost their houses because they didn't make the income that they said they made. So that's why I ended up refinancing and just pinching off that money for years and years until I was able to make the money on my own. By that time, I already owed all of this debt on this house, and with no home improvement. So I did no upgrades to it. I didn't do upgrades to it until I got ready to sell it, and it looked like a completely different house. And I didn't even realize how much my house aged until I did the upgrades on it. So yeah, my credit score was bad back in 2005, 2004. However, and that loan at the time was, I think it was $108,000. So fast forward to buying my building out on the west side, that loan was only $28,000, which I ended up putting like half down on it. That was the hardest loan to get. They asked for everything, and I think my credit was like 720, and they asked for everything that they could ask for just to get that little money. And banks are doing this because banks are doing this because of, you know, what happened back in 2008. So they are like being very detailed about everything. So they asked for like every single thing, my 401k, they asked for my check stubs, they asked for my W-2s, they asked for my blood type, they asked for everything. And so that was like the hardest one to get. So your credit has to be really good. And another thing now is DTI, is debt to income ratio. A lot of times you can't get anything because your debt versus your income ratio is too high. Your debt is too much. So that's the kind of the problem that I'm dealing with right now. I have a lot of debt because of that building. Even though I made a big profit, my mistake was I didn't pay most of the debt off that I incurred with that building. Instead, I took that money and I bought another house. I bought another house that's currently for sale. And I bought that house in January of this year. And it was a complete gut rehab. And well, it was a complete rehab. We had to just like refinish and do everything we had to do to it. And that project ended up taking way longer than anticipated. I originally hired contractors that I dealt with when I had my building. And these contractors, for the same contractors that I had for the first building, that I had for the second building, they just ended up like being lazy and not doing what they were supposed to do. And I could not understand, you know, I felt like I had a relationship with these contractors. That's why I was comfortable with them. So they just totally treated me different. And I didn't understand what was going on. And then I realized I had moved out of the state and I wasn't there to babysit them.
Oh, interesting. So,
Yes.
so you have the same contractors when you bought the building, but the mistake was that, you know, when the cat's away, the mice will play kind of thing, where they felt like they could just not put your project at a high priority. Because I imagine these contractors are doing several projects and they're going to be most responsive to the people that are really on their ass. And because you were out of the state, it was harder for you to really be there and check the work and push them forward and stuff like that. How did that play out? Like you said that it took longer or much longer for the job to get done than you anticipated. Tell me more about that. Like how long did it take versus how long you thought it was going to take?
Well, the house was supposed to be done in April. I bought it in January. It was supposed to be done in April to sell no later than June. Houses was in that area was selling like hotcakes. The house next door sold for 214,000, and it was on the market for like 230, and it sold for 214. And I still have my house over there. It's struggling to sell right now because now the market has slowed down. It's a great house. It's huge. It's 4 bedrooms. It has a potential to have a 5 bedroom in the back, but we can't call it a bedroom because there's there's no closet back there, but it's like a huge house, full finished basement, full attic, ensuite upstairs, in the main bathroom. In the main bedroom, and 3 bathrooms. It's huge. I would probably move in that house too if I wanted to come back to Chicago, but I do not. But it's struggling to sell right now because I had to fire my first contractors and get new contractors. So I do have a business partner. So, you know, it's important to stay on top of contractors, which is what we learned the first time. Because I realized that my contractors originally was on top of things because I was on top of them. You know, I was making sure that I was just simply asking questions. I was just being nosy, and I didn't realize how important that part was, just being there on site every day or every other day. So I advise people who wants to do rehab, don't just, oh, I got contractors going over there, get them the access code and keys and then just forget about it. You have to be there. You are the foreman at this point. So you have to be there. And I can't stress that enough. Unfortunately, you know, with this project, we ended up getting another person and he was just as slow. He promised us that this would be done in May. Then May came and it wasn't nowhere near done. Then June came and now we are, we're in what? We're November now. and you just now finishing up punch list items. Punch list items are, just a few finishing touches. So it's taking forever for that. And then, as you know, you're paying mortgage for it. And then our profit margin is, at this point, I'm just trying to get rid of it and just be done with it. And I don't even know if I'm going to get all my money back from it. I think at this point, it's just going to be breaking even. I just don't want it, to ruin my credit or anything, or ruin my business credit or anything like that. And plus, it's getting cold there in Chicago. So it's really hard to get rid of something in the wintertime in Chicago. People are not trying to look at properties, because I know I wasn't. I was looking for a house in the wintertime, and then I didn't even buy until both of them until summertime. So I'm thinking I'm probably gonna have this house all the way up until maybe spring. I hope not, but that's the thing about dealing with the markets, because people like to buy houses, especially single family homes, before their kids start school, and the kids are in school now. So it's a beautiful house. It's in a Chatham area where they built an Obama library. So if anybody is interested, they can look at my my Facebook page, MLB Real Estate Incorporated.
Nice. Well, everybody, I'm speaking with Ms. Lisa Burns. Lisa is the CEO of MLB Real Estate Incorporated, and we're talking about her journey as a single mom into real estate, house flipping, things like that. Somebody's asking where her website is. I know that the place she would like for you to go to connect is to her Facebook page. Go to Facebook, look up MLB Real Estate. It stands for Marvelous Lisa Burns, or Major League Baseball, whichever one you want to remember it by. And you can actually go to the page, hit the like button, support what the sister's doing is very, very important. But then also, if you want to learn real estate as well in the Black Business School, we have theblackrealestateprogram.com, which will allow you to hear a lot of perspectives from Dr. Venetia Dutra and all of her guests as well on just how to get into real estate, how to buy properties, how to flip it, how to do all these things, because understanding real estate is really, really important. We even have a real estate program for kids in the Black Business School, in our Black Millionaires of Tomorrow program, that breaks down real estate. The kids that go through the program and take the exams and get the certificate are better at understanding real estate than most people are. And the reason they're light years ahead of everybody else is because most people don't even know the basics or the fundamentals of home ownership, why it matters, how it's a wealth builder, et cetera. These kids really understand these things. So, Lisa, I'm going to ask you this. Actually, before I even ask, before we get to the next question, everybody who's watching, take a second, please hit that thumbs up button, share button, or the like button. Also, later on today, if you're watching November 1st at noon or noon Central, 1 Eastern, I'm going to actually be on with Dr. Claude Anderson at 2 Eastern. So Dr. Claude Anderson is going to come through. If you are late, if you're watching the recording, you're watching somewhere else after that time, just go to drboycetv.com. Make sure you subscribe, drboycetv.com, and you can find the conversation. Dr. Anderson and I, we always light it up, and it's going to be really good to listen to. So Lisa, let me ask you this last question. I want to ask you a question about, your son, in terms of, the fact that, he's there, he's, you and he you have a relationship, you're part-time mother and son, part-time buddies, part-time, I'm sure, going to war with each other, if you're like anything like me and my mother were, right? And so he's going through all, but one long-term benefit I can definitely see is, he's going to remember this, right? When it comes time for him to decide, do I want to rent a house or buy a house, he's going to reflect on the conversations he had with his mother about why she went through the journey to go buy a house instead of renting. So you're creating like a generational legacy, because that's what he's going to teach his kids. That's what his kids are going to teach their kids. So your great grandchildren will benefit from the decisions you made to do something a little bit different from what most people do. Most Black folks do not go buy a house at the age of 22. Most Black people I know in college at 22 ain't even thinking about owning nothing. They ain't thinking about owning stock. They ain't thinking about owning real estate. They ain't thinking about starting a business. All they're thinking about is, I'm gonna get the degree, get all this debt, and then go get me a job. That's all they're usually thinking about, and that's when they think that they're doing good. And I think it's important to know there's a bigger world out there. So what do you think would be benefits or thoughts that other people might have as they go through this journey, which is tough? I mean, you've had ups and downs. Nothing's easy, right? So you've had the victories of what you do and the downside. But what would you kind of say to them in terms of, what impact you think this might have on your son, long term, in terms of how he sees, what it means to try to build wealth, what it means to, own a home versus rent, all that stuff. you think that that's affected him in any way, or what's your perspective on that?
Oh, definitely. I talked to my son. I talked to my son in great detail about what was going on when I was flipping these properties, when I was having tenants, and I was coaching him on what not to do because I was making a lot of mistakes. So I was like, make sure you don't do this. Make sure you don't do that. You're not friends with the tenants. Get a, don't even let them know that you own the property. Don't, you just a regular person, and you don't want to hear that stories, and also with buying houses. And make sure the area is good, and make sure your business partners or whoever you're doing business with have the same dedication that you have, because that's very important. Know your contractors, and also be there on site, because these are things that I did not do. So that's why it's rough right now, and I'm still holding the house that I'm paying a mortgage on, which was supposed to been gone back in June sometime. So I talked to him in great detail about this, because I feel like we don't talk to our kids about this, because we didn't know. So he's able to, he can have an intelligent conversation with you, as you know. So he can talk to you about stocks, bonds. He wants to be he wanted to be like a real estate attorney, but right now he is thinking about going into the military. This is end up being his own personal decision. So he's going to go into the military for now, and going to try that out and see how that works out for him. And then after that, I told him, you'll still be young enough to get out. Even 20 years from now, you'll be my age. I'm still fly. You can still do stuff. So, and then you'll have a retirement check on that. If you put 20 years in, the earlier you start, the better it will be. So he's really excited about that. And he knows the value of owning versus renting. My whole idea of renting my building and then also having my house, I wanted to live rent free. I had enough to pay my mortgage at my house on top of paying my bills, my light bill, my gas bill. So it was just enough rent that I was getting from my tenants to pay the mortgage over there at the building, and also pay my rent, and also pay my utilities. And that way, when I make my money at my job, it was all for me or whatever I wanted to do, pay my credit cards or something. So I was able to pay a lot of debt down when my tenants were paying on time. But, like I said, I messed up. So I made sure I let him know what was going wrong with owning properties and having tenants, and, what to do with your money. And, because even though I made like a big profit, and it was off that last building, off that last flip, and it enabled me to come here. I lost a lot of money, with this new project. So I don't know what's, gonna be happening next, but I am looking to start flipping in Arizona, also California and Texas. So
good. Well, it's a journey, just like, I mean, tonight, for example, and everybody, you guys should know about this. Tonight, we're doing a special lecture in the Black Business School on the shifted mindset that kind of goes from being just a straight employee to being like a business owner. Like there's experiences business owners have, ways that business owners have to think, how they have to plan, strategize, etc. And what I see with you is you're kind of dealing with that up and down, that financial up and down, where sometimes you're winning big, sometimes, you're avoiding losing big, but then you just kind of trudge on. Like, because remember, if this was a totally bad experience, you would have walked away from it. You would have said, I'm not trying to own houses, nothing like that. But instead, you're saying, yeah, there's a downside. Things can go wrong, but there's a hell of an upside, and I want to get that upside. And so and everybody, just by the way, if you want to participate in that lecture, you can find out more at drboyceseminars.com. That's drboyceseminars.com. We're going to do this tonight at 8:00 Eastern on 11/1. It's going to be about an hour and a half, and I'll give you the slides when we're done and all that. But one thing I want to mention too is, as I hear you talk, what you really remind me of is you remind me of my grandmother, rest her soul. I talk about my grandma all the time. I love my grandma. And she was the first person to introduce me actually to compound interest, because she used to buy savings bonds for me when I was little. She didn't buy me toys. She would buy me savings bonds. Yeah. And of course, as a little kid, I'm pissed off, right? I'm like, what is this? Like this is not the video game I wanted. But I would look at it, and I felt these little cardboard pieces of paper. And and it looked like money, but it wasn't money. I was like, is it fake money? Like, what is it? And they would have 100 on it, but she would tell me she paid $50 for it. And I would say, how did you pay $50 for something that's $100? And she would explain how over time it would grow into $100. So in my little, 5-year-old head, I pictured like a flower, like a flower. Okay, you plant the seed for the flower, it's going to grow, after you give it a certain amount of time. And to this day, I still think about money that way. If you want to visualize how money grows, how wealth grows, visualize how a flower grows. And it's really true even on a mathematical level. The equations that describe how money grows over time are the same equations that we actually took those equations out of biology that describe how plants grow. So anyway, I think about my grandma because I think about her all the time. And I talk about her all the time because that's how I keep her alive. And what I see in terms of what you have in common is she was like a real common sense type person. She was a single mom. She knew that she had a small margin of error because she couldn't really depend on no man to really come in and save the day if something went bad. And she had her kids. She had 4 kids that she had raised, and she had to be real careful. She kept her credit right. She didn't mess around when it came to money. If she loaned you $20 in 1978 and you did not pay her back that $20, she will never loan you money ever again.
That's me.
Right? Yeah. I think you carry that spirit, and I really think that that's like a common spirit for a lot of Black women. Like I think there's just that strength, or dare I say strength in the Black woman that like people act like saying the term strong Black woman is a bad thing. I personally think that when somebody says you're strong, that's a compliment. I think strength is a good thing, but the challenge of strength is that it sometimes comes from from tough experiences. Few people are strong who haven't gone through something tough. Like a strong person with big muscles is somebody who's lifted a lot of weight and had a tough workout, right? So So really, I think the benefit of that, the good side of that, is that you kind of create this sort of way of thinking that I think provides more stability, for the family, for the community, for your son. It provides a type of maturity that I think a lot of people can learn from in terms of saying, okay, I had this and then I had that, and then even strategy, like you're talking about, like I had the money over here to pay for this, so then I was able to use this money for that. Like that's a strategic way of thinking. It's better than like I'm gonna just get my check and go make it rain at the club, right? You see what I mean? And I think people can learn from that. Like I think that there is a powerful wisdom in the Black mother, particularly the single Black mother, that I don't know if we really tap into as a community, because I got a lot of wisdom from my grandmother. She would put me on game. I'm talking about after I had my PhD, and she's 68 and I'm 33, and I'm calling her and she's breaking. I literally remember one time I was about to write an article for Essence magazine about financial habits and stuff like that. And I called my grandmother, and my grandmother was like, okay, well, this is what you do. You do this, and this. And she didn't have nobody's college degree, no nothing, but she just kind of knew all these things from experience. So I guess the last question I ask you before I let you go is, what's kind of next for you, and what would you kind of say to anybody out here that's thinking about getting into real estate, that's trying to figure out a way to make extra money, trying to move forward? What advice would you give to them?
You really got to make sure this is something that you want to do. It takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of dedication. When I was in Chicago doing this, I worked the Monday through Friday, a 9-to-5 job. And you best believe when I got off work, I was straight over there to the property. So, you can't leave your fate up to someone else. Your fate is your fate. So if you want it to work, you really got to be dedicated to do this. You might, I know how to paint. I know how to, do a lot of stuff. I know a lot about plumbing just by watching my plumber, by watching my electrician. I feel like I could take up a trade at this point. I feel like I can get certified. So you really got to be involved in your project, and you got to, just like anything that you want to be, like any type of entrepreneur, you got to put in the time. It's not going to just come to you. You just can't hand it over to somebody else for them to do it. It's not going to be done the way you want it to be done. So that would be like the main thing. And if like I said, if you grab a team, you got to make sure your team is on the same page as you, because if they're not on the same page as you, then it's not going to work. All you're going to do is be fighting and blaming each other for everything. Fortunately, me and my business partner is really not doing that, but it's a communication thing. You got to have like strong communication too. And it just takes a lot, and your finances. Another mistake that I did, I used a lot of my own money. Don't use your own money. Use them white people money. use their money. Don't you use your money. You know, I messed up and I used my own money, and that's why I'm sitting here with the crazy face with this house that's sitting there right now. You know, so use anybody else's money. Don't use your own money to fund these projects. Try and get financing. Try and get your business credit up. Go to Duns and Bradstreet and try and work on your business credit and get lines of credit through your business. You know, it doesn't take anything to build an LLC or a corporation or anything like that. So do it that way. Right now, that house is not affecting my credit at all. It's not on my personal credit. It's on my business credit. So there are ways to go about doing, you know, things like that. Now the interest is higher when you do that, but if you do things the way you're supposed to, you don't have to pay a lot of money out of pocket the first time. That's why, you know, I'm struggling right now. So I'm telling you what not to do, you know, and what to do from what I just learned. So, I mean, as long as you got that dedication, everything should go, you know, the way you want it to. It's going to be rough, and especially with your first flip, don't get discouraged. That's another thing too. If you end up getting discouraged, you know, I'm very discouraged. I'm like, I don't want tenants ever in life again. And then 3 months later, I'm like, I could do this again, but I got to go about it a different way. You can't go into it doing the same thing and expect different results. I know people have heard that a lot, so I'm just gonna do it again and do it a different type of way. So,
well,
yeah, that's what I have.
Well, I like what you said. Don't use your money. Use these white people's money. That's good. You could put that on a meme or something, right? The song and stuff like the hook on the song. Use the white people money. Well, you know what? My brain's going up. I was thinking about like OPP and yeah, like WPM, white people money. But anyway, okay. So let me ask you this: the house that you mentioned in Chicago, that you have a house on the market right now in Chicago, and I know a lot of people in here live in Chicago or interested in buying in Chicago. If somebody was interested in looking at the house or purchasing, how might they reach out to you? Should they go to your Facebook page and send a note there, or reach out another way?
Well, they can reach out to my realtor. Her email address is erikal.realtor@gmail.com. So that's ERIKAL.realtor, REALTOR @gmail.com. You reach out to her name is Erica Finley. So you reach out to her and she'll give you information about that. Actually, she's at the house right now. I don't know if it's because of this podcast or what. She's at the house right now, or at least on her way there. She's been texting me, you know, there's an alarm on it. So I just deactivated the alarm for her to go in there and show her to do whatever she got to do. So I guess she's getting traffic. So yeah, Erica L. Did I say Erica L? Is erikal.realtor@gmail.com.
Okay, ERIKAL.realtor@gmail.com. Her name is Erica Finley, Erica with a K. So if you live in the Chicago area and you want to take a look at the property, feel free to reach out to Erica Finley. So I want to say thank you very much, Ms. Burns, for your time. I really appreciate it. It's been great hearing your story, and I'm glad you took the time to come in and tell us what you got going on.
No problem at all. Thanks for having me.
For sure. Everybody, this is Miss Lisa Burns. She is the CEO of MLB Real Estate Incorporated. If you want to follow her on Facebook, you can go to MLB Real Estate Inc. Just look it up on Facebook, and you can hit the like button. So everybody go there and, you know, show you love, show you support. Also, don't forget, in the Black Business School, if you want to learn real estate, you want to learn house flipping, all this stuff, we have a whole curriculum on it. We have a certificate that you can get after you go through the curriculum. It's taught by a PhD professor, Dr. Venetia Dutra. If you want to learn more, you can actually try it out for 30 days for free. Don't cost you anything in the first 30 days. Go to theblackrealestateprogram.com. That's theblackrealestateprogram.com. Next, also, if you want to join the lecture we're going to do tonight on basically the way you can frame your schedule, frame your life, shape your thinking around being a business owner versus being an employee, making that adjustment. We're doing that tonight on November 1st. You can learn more at drboyceseminars.com. That's drboyceseminars.com. If you're watching live in 1 hour at 2 p.m. Eastern, I'll be on with Dr. Claude Anderson. And he's got a lot to say about the 14th Amendment. So y'all know how Dr. Claude Anderson does. He kills it. So hit the like button, share button, thumbs up button on this video before you bounce out. Please support what we're doing here with Building Black Media. And thank you again, Miss Lisa Burns. It's awesome to talk to you. And everybody, I appreciate your support as well. And we'll see you guys soon. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.